They thought I was naive, obedient, and invisible. Every secret they kept, every manipulation they pulled, I watched quietly. And when the time came, I acted in silence. What they didn't know would change everything: their power, their control, and the life they thought they owned. I remember standing in the crowded auditorium, my gown stiff against my skin, listening to the applause that felt hollow. "Congratulations, Zoe," my cousins yelled, their voices dripping with excitement. I forced a smile. "Thanks," I mumbled, glancing toward my parents. My mom barely looked up from her phone, and my dad leaned back in his chair, whispering to Uncle Mason about stocks. I swallowed hard. "You okay, sweetheart?" my grandma whispered, reaching for my hand. Her grip was warm, but I could see the hesitation in her eyes. "I'm fine," I lied. "Just tired." "Tired? You just graduated," she said softly. "You should be proud." "I am," I said, though my voice wavered. I don't know. Everyone else seems to matter more." My cousins strutted past, waving to relatives, soaking up the attention I craved. "Mom, Dad, look at me," Lily shouted, twirling. They clapped for her, laughed at every joke, ignored my quiet attempts to catch their gaze. I sighed and walked outside to the balcony. The air felt heavy, like it carried my disappointment with it. My grandparents joined me, the only faces that felt like home. "You've done well," Grandpa said, eyes full of pride. "Don't let them dim your light." "I know," I said, trying not to cry. "It just hurts, Grandpa. I've worked so hard, and they barely see me." "They see you differently," Grandma said, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. "They see what they want to see. You see yourself." I nodded, but the words didn't stop the ache. That night, in the quiet of my room, I couldn't sleep. The house was silent except for the faint tick of the clock. I pulled out my laptop, scrolling through articles about trusts, estate laws, and financial planning. "Zoe, what are you doing up?" Mom's voice came from the hallway, sharp and impatient. "Just doing some research," I said, closing the laptop quickly. "Research?" She raised an eyebrow. "You're 22, not some lawyer. Don't get ideas above your station." "I'm not," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm just curious." "Curious is fine," she said, walking away. "Just don't waste your time." I exhaled, fists clenched. Wasting time. That's how they saw me. Invisible, unimportant, replaceable. I opened my laptop again, determined. "I'm tired of being invisible," I whispered to myself. "I need to matter. I will matter." Grandpa peeked into my room. "Burning the midnight oil, huh?" "I guess," I said, glancing at him. "I'm thinking, maybe there's a way to secure things. Make sure everything stays safe." "Safe?" he asked, eyes narrowing slightly. "Yeah. For you." "For Grandma," I said, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I don't want anyone taking advantage, or ignoring what's important." He nodded slowly, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Be careful, Zoe." "But I trust you." That night, I lay awake, plotting quietly. I wrote notes, bookmarked websites, called lawyers, and learned every loophole I could find. I felt fear, yes, but also a strange excitement. I wasn't just hurting anymore, I was ready. Ready to rise, ready to fight, ready to prove that my worth wasn't defined by anyone else's neglect. For the first time, I felt a flicker of control, a whisper that maybe, just maybe, I could change everything. I shut the door quietly, the soft click echoing in the empty hallway. "Grandpa, can we talk?" I whispered, careful not to wake anyone. He looked up from his book, squinting in the dim light. "Of course, Zoe. What's on your mind?" "I've been thinking about the estate," I said slowly, testing the waters. "The estate?" He raised an eyebrow, but didn't move. "Yes. I want to make sure everything stays safe. For you, for Grandma," I said, heart hammering. "I don't want anyone mismanaging it." He leaned back, studying me like he'd never noticed how serious I could be. "You've been thinking about this a lot." "I have. And I can handle it," I said, forcing confidence into my voice. "I've been learning." researching lawyers, trusts, legal protections. I can do this without alarming anyone. Be careful, Zoe. Your parents, his voice trailed off. I know, I said, nodding. That's why it has to be quiet. I don't want confrontation. I just want security. Later that week, I called the lawyer I'd found online, my hands shaking as I explained the situation. Are you sure you're authorized to handle this? The lawyer asked cautiously. I am, I said firmly. My grandparents have full trust in me. I just need to make the arrangements. Everything confidential. All right, the lawyer said, we'll draft the documents. But you'll need signatures from them. We can meet discreetly. I hung up, my stomach twisting. Every step I took felt like walking a tightrope. I can't mess this up, I whispered to myself. When I told Grandma about the first set of documents, her hands shook as she signed. Zoe, are you certain? I am, I said softly. It's not just money. It's protection. For all of us. And your parents? She asked. They won't know. Not yet, I reassured her, swallowing the lump in my throat. I'm doing this carefully. Slowly. But I'll make sure nothing slips through their fingers. Grandpa nodded, squeezing my hand. You're braver than I realized. But tread carefully. The nights became long. I stayed up reviewing paperwork, sending emails, and cross-referencing accounts. Every time my parents walked by my room, I froze, heart hammering. You're still awake? Mom asked one night, peering in. Just checking some things, I said, keeping my voice calm. You're obsessive, she said lightly, then left, not noticing the fire in my eyes. Aunt Olivia visited that month, her curiosity sharper than my parents'. Zoe, are you hiding something? She asked, tilting her head. I'm just helping Grandpa with some paperwork, I said, shrugging. You seem different, she murmured, not prying too hard. I like it. Don't let anyone push you around. Her words made me smile quietly. Finally, someone saw what I was doing, not just the action, but the courage behind it. There were moments I felt panic, imagining my parents discovering the trust. But each signed document, each verified account, made me stronger. The fear never fully left, but it was accompanied by pride. I wasn't waiting for permission. I wasn't the invisible daughter anymore. I was the one quietly rewriting the rules. Zoe, what are you doing? Dad finally asked one evening, suspicious, as he noticed files missing from his usual stack. Preparing for the future, I said evenly. Something I should have done years ago. He narrowed his eyes but didn't push further. I felt a thrill I couldn't explain. I wasn't just moving papers, I was moving power. Each night I went to bed exhausted but satisfied. I was no longer a pawn in their game. I was calculating, patient, and ready. And with every silent signature, every confidential call, I felt it. A shift in control, a whisper of independence, and a seed of courage blossoming into unstoppable resolve. Dinner was tense before it even started. I could feel the weight of my parents' eyes, expecting their usual quiet compliance from me. I sat down, hands folded, smiling politely. Zoe, did you even help set the table? Mom snapped, glaring. I did, I said evenly, looking at her directly. Everything is ready. Dad smirked, leaning back. Always trying to impress, aren't we? You'll never measure up, you know that, right? I forced a calm breath. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm just doing my part. Cousins snickered under their breath. Lily whispered, she still acts like she matters. I ignored her. Tonight wasn't for them, it was for the truth. Grandpa cleared his throat. Let's eat. I passed dishes around, careful, calm, while my parents shot me daggers from across the table. When the main course arrived, I spoke softly, deliberately. Mom, Dad, can we talk about the trust? Excuse me? Dad barked. Trust? What trust? I pulled out my tablet, swiping to the folder I had prepared. The one I've been quietly setting up with Grandpa and Grandma. Every account, every property, every document. All signed, all verified. Mom froze, fork halfway to her mouth. Dad's face went pale. You, what? She whispered, voice trembling. I did it for you. I mean, for them. For the family, I said firmly. I wanted to make sure nothing is mismanaged, nothing is taken for granted. Cousins gasped. Mason stammered, she actually did it. Yes, I said. I spent months making sure it was all secure. Quietly. Carefully. I wasn't being naive. I was planning. You, how dare you? Dad shouted, slamming his fist on the table. Calm down, I said evenly. It's already done. There's no going back. Grandpa cleared his throat, glancing at Mom and Dad. Zoe has been responsible. She acted in everyone's best interest. Grandma nodded. And finally, I see the truth. The manipulation, the neglect, it stops now. Mom's eyes welled up. I never realized. You never tried to realize, I said quietly. Every word, every glance, every belittling comment, I catalogued it. I learned. And now, you see the consequences. Cousins stared, disbelief painted across their faces. We never knew, Lily murmured. You didn't bother to look, I said softly. But it's too late now. Everything is secured. I'm not invisible anymore. There was silence. Then Aunt Olivia, who had come late, whispered, I always knew you had it in you, Zoe. Finally, they see. I swallowed hard, a lump in my throat. Thank you, I whispered. The tears came before I could stop them, ugly, messy, full of all the years I had carried pain in silence. Zoe, Grandpa said gently, placing a hand on mine. It's okay. Let it out. I hiccuped, wiping my cheeks. I didn't realize how much I needed this. To be seen. To be heard. Grandma reached over and hugged me, whispering, we always knew, sweetheart. But tonight, they know too. My parents slumped into their chairs, broken. The arrogance, the pride, the control, they all shattered. I didn't feel revenge. I felt relief. The weight of years lifted in one quiet, truthful evening. You've changed everything, Dad muttered, voice low. Yes, I said. But it wasn't about changing you. It was about changing me. Learning patience, courage, and power. I'm done being invisible. And now, you all finally understand. Cousins whispered to each other, still stunned. Aunt Olivia smiled, pride in her eyes. And for the first time, I felt the full force of my quiet rebellion, proof that truth, patience, and courage can turn the tide. That night, I cried more than I had in years. Not from sorrow, but from the sheer release of holding in the storm for so long. The days after the dinner felt surreal. I walked through the house, noticing how quiet it had become. Mom and Dad tried to assert control, subtly, in small comments or questions, but I didn't flinch. Zoe, did you remember to check the insurance papers? Dad asked one morning, his voice cautious. Yes, I said evenly. Everything's handled. You're thorough, he muttered, though it sounded more like a warning than a compliment. I smiled faintly. I've learned to be careful. To plan. Grandma appeared in the kitchen, smiling at me. You look lighter, Zoe. Like a weight has been lifted. I feel lighter, I admitted. Like I can finally breathe. She squeezed my hand. You did what was right. That's all that matters. Grandpa leaned against the doorway. I don't know how you managed all of this without anyone noticing. I was careful, I said. I had to be. For everyone's sake. For my own. One afternoon, Aunt Olivia called. I wanted to check in, she said warmly. How are you holding up? Better than ever, I said, a small laugh escaping me. It's strange. I thought I'd feel guilty for going behind them, but it feels freeing. Like I finally own my own life. You've grown so much, Zoe, she said. I'm proud of you. You've turned pain into power. I didn't know I could do it, I whispered. But I had to try. Even my cousins started acting differently around me. Lily approached me one evening. Zoe. I didn't realize how capable you were. You've changed everything. I'm just living my truth, I said softly. No one else can do it for me. Mom cornered me in the living room later. You think you've won, don't you? She hissed. I don't think I've won, I said, meeting her gaze. I know I have. And it isn't about revenge. It's about me finally standing for myself. Dad shook his head, muttering under his breath. You'll regret this. I don't think so, I replied calmly. I've already gained something you'll never take from me, my self-worth. One evening, I sat with my laptop, reviewing the final trust documents. Grandma came to sit beside me. You've done it all, Zoe. Quietly, carefully. I never doubted you, but even I am amazed. I didn't just protect the estate, I said. I protected myself. My independence. My future. You're unstoppable now, she said, smiling. I closed the laptop and looked around the room. For the first time, I felt complete. Every manipulation, every betrayal, every time I was dismissed, it all led to this moment. I wasn't broken anymore. I had transformed pain into power, invisibility into presence, and betrayal into growth. That night, Dad tried one last attempt at intimidation. You'll never understand responsibility, Zoe. I leaned back, steady and calm. I understand more than you ever realized. Responsibility isn't about control. It's about accountability. It's about courage. I've learned that, and nothing you do can change it. He stared, silent, defeated. Mom looked away, the anger fading into reluctant acknowledgement. I laughed quietly to myself. Not cruelly, but in relief. I had risen above everything that tried to hold me down. The estate was secured, but more importantly, so was my spirit. Grandpa placed his hand on mine. Zoe, no one can touch you now. Not them, not anyone. You've grown stronger than anyone imagined. I know, I said, smiling through the tears threatening my eyes. And it feels amazing. I finally feel free. Aunt Olivia visited the next day. You should celebrate yourself, she said. You've earned this peace. I will, I said, standing tall. I'll celebrate me, my choices, and the life I've claimed for myself. And as I looked around the room, the quiet, the approval in my grandparents' eyes, the stunned silence of my parents, I realized I had truly risen. I had faced betrayal, survived emotional storms, and emerged stronger. I was untouchable in ways they could never comprehend. For the first time in my life, I could breathe deeply, knowing I had claimed my power, my independence, and my worth. I had finally risen above.